This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the place to go for all of your website needs. Just about 2.5 years ago, I reviewed Hasselblad's X1D 2, the predecessor to the just announced X2D, and said, well, this actually, when you think about it, and embrace it for what it actually does best outside of the studio. Use it as it actually works best outside of the studio, which is to say, autofocus off, auto exposure off, a kick medium format EVF only Leica M alternative with a different yet no less breathtaking look at a bargain price. Magnificent color, resolution pop, an interesting price compared to a Leica M. There's no IBIS. There's no articulating screen, just like an M. I do wish they'd offer a 45-4P, call it the 45-4P M for magic, with true hard stops, and an engraved depth of field scale on the lens itself. It looks like Hasselblad has addressed in the X2D every issue I raised in that video and then went further, the result being 100 megapixels worth of industrial art that, as is, what a bizarre starting point for an $8,200 camera, right? May be the only camera on the planet that gives pause to more than a few Leica fans thinking of moving to the M11 for, say, street photography, travel, landscape, or portrait work. Maybe. I'll know better when I actually get my hands on one. If I get my hands on one. Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone for 3 Blind Men and an Elephant, and I'll just cut to the chase. Subject to confirmation by going hands on Hasselblad, I believe the most compelling way to look at the X2D as a system, especially given the 3 new XCD lenses announced with it, is as an EVF-based Leica M with almost twice the megapixels of my M11, bolstered by the autofocusing capability and in-body image stabilization the M11 doesn't have, and that this kind of resolution essentially requires in order to fully harness its potential with the glass to match at a bargain price. Although, of course, it's not that simple. Let's begin here. I think no other camera brand comes nearly as close to Leica's heritage bona fides as Hasselblad. No other camera brand comes nearly as close to Leica's industrial design chops as Hasselblad. Maybe no other camera brand comes nearly as close to Leica's exceptional lenses as Hasselblad, but that's a big maybe today, as the diffusion of computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing, and the rapidly expanding global pool of highly skilled workers have done much to level the playing field. Hasselblad's software interface, on the other hand, is clearly the best in the business, bar none, including Leica's. One could argue that with the XD system, even before the X2D, Hasselblad had achieved something which to this day Leica has not. An homage to its storied past, untethered from most of that past, by taking the bold step of abandoning altogether the form factor and singular technical advance with which it earned its reputation. In Hasselblad's case, a boxy Lego-like modularity when it was first introduced in 1948 for an unapologetically modern, absolutely unique, clean sheet design. By contrast, Leica's M3 was so brilliantly and timelessly conceived that my 2022 M11 is essentially the identical form factor and retains the dual technical advances which made the original 54 Leica M3 so compelling. Rangefinder focusing integrated within the optical viewfinder, and the M bayonet mount. Call it being a steward and perhaps a victim, to a certain extent, of one's success. On the other hand, one could counter-argue that Leica did at one time offer the most successfully uber-modern homage to the greatest, most iconic camera design of all time when they introduced their now discontinued APS-C TL and CL systems, and I'd absolutely agree don't get me started. I mean, come on. Take a 40 megapixel APS-C sensor, 5.76 million dot EVF articulating screen, phase detect AF, and IBIS, like those found in Fujifilm's X-H2. Figure out how to stuff it all into the CL's beautiful and petite body. Call it a CL2 and, oh boy. Just saying. Anyway, please don't misunderstand. I love my M11 and there is nothing quite like it. I love my SL2. There is nothing truly like it either, although there are other full-frame mirrorless cameras with the same basic form factor that do some things better, faster, and or cheaper. I can't sell my CL. And to Leica's credit, the company has, with the M11, abandoned the loved by many but utterly vestigial bottom plate that simply got in the way of workflow once the camera went digital. But to put it plainly, it appears that the X2D offers precisely the technology Leica's digital M series does not, and most likely will not for the foreseeable future, to, as I just said, extract every last pixel's worth of image quality from their brilliant sensor and lenses. Although, it's impossible for me to imagine that Leica hasn't been looking at just these things for years. I think it's not a question of if, only when. Beyond the X2D's 100 megapixel larger than full frame sensor, the 5.76 million dot 1x magnification EVF Bravo, hybrid phase detect autofocus, hold that thought, and the purported 7 stops of IBIS, hold that thought, the X2D system also offers 1. A larger and articulating rear screen the M11 does not. 2. A new trio of interchangeable autofocusing lenses with manual focus clutch, depth of field scale on the barrel, and a multifunction ring which, okay, fine, can be programmed to be an aperture ring. 3. True 16-bit RAW files with Hasselblad's extraordinary color science. And 4. 16 times the built-in internal storage of the M11. All for 5. A whopping $6,200 less. That is 1/3 less than the M11 when you figure in the new $3,700 XCD 55 f2.5 for the Hassi, for example, Leica's $9,100 Apo-Summicron M 50mm f2 for the M11. But as I said moments ago, it's not that simple. A, the Hassi is 40% heavier and takes up just about twice the space in your bag compared to an M-based system, more as you add lenses. I love my M system's size and weight. B, early reports indicate that the autofocus performance and startup times still seriously lag the best full-frame ILC mirrorless cameras from Sony, Nikon, Panasonic, Leica, and Canon. C, early reports also suggest the IBIS is not actually 7 stops. D, early reports of rolling shutter performance are of concern for those of us who shoot fast-moving subjects wide open in midday sun. E, if the EVF is the identical unit found in the SL2 and other cameras, it may have the same bug. That is, a diminution of image quality in the EVF just before the shutter is tripped, dramatically reducing the value of all of that EVF resolution for manual focus. F, the XCD lens catalog is excellent but sparse compared to the full-frame systems I just mentioned. G, with this said, and perhaps more importantly, so much time, effort, and money have been poured into the full-frame lens space, to which I also just alluded, and with entirely new lineups of uber-performant primes from Nikon and Sony especially, but Leica itself most of all with its Apo-Summicron SL series, at the moment I'm actually unclear where Hasselblad's new 38-55 and 92.5 XCD lenses, call them the full-frame field of view and depth of field equivalents of 30, 45, and 70mm f2s, fit into the firmament. That is, how good are they really? Thus, H, right? H. You could pick up a full-frame 47.5 megapixel Leica SL2 with the Apo-Summicron 50 for just about the same money as the X2D with the 55. 2. A full-frame 45 megapixel Nikon Z7 II with the utterly brilliant, underappreciated Nikkor Z51.8S for less than half the money. J. An APS-C 40 megapixel Fujifilm X-H2 with, say, their 23 or 33mm 1.4s for closer to 1/4 or even 1/5 of the money. Or, if you were to insist upon the larger than full frame sensor and truly required all 100 megapixels, K, you could pick up the most obvious direct competitor of all, Fujifilm's more settled, 2/3 the price, $6,000, 102 megapixel GFX 100S, also with phase detect autofocus, also with IBIS, also with articulating screen, with video thrown in basically for free, and with a broader lens catalog containing some outstanding glass, like their 110mm f2 and 23mm f4, or their 32 to 64 or 45 to 100mm zooms. All of which leaves us where precisely? For the moment, it leaves us with more questions than answers. How good is the autofocus really? How good does it have to be for what you or I do? How good is the IBIS really? Is it good enough to get really slow shutter speeds so that we can take advantage of base ISO? How good is the EVF really? How good are these new lenses really? How well do the older X2D lenses work with it really? How well do even older film era lenses work with adapters? And if the answer to every one of these questions is really, really well or really, really good, the question then becomes, is it worth the extra volume, weight, performance, and or price over other options? Because the reality is that while the original X1D was a breakthrough product for Hasselblad at a breakthrough price within the Hasselblad universe, $9,000 when it was announced in 2016, the operative phrases here are Hasselblad universe and announced in 2016. Yes, the X1D's design was and remains gorgeous, the heritage inspiring, and back then it offered the same resolution as the vastly more expensive as in $26,000 H6D 50C, more resolution actually than Leica's sublime $23,000 37.5 megapixel medium format S introduced in, I think it was 2009. But in exchange for its dramatically lower price, the X1D forsook the single lens reflex approach championed by both these medium format titans, and then forsook what made the H series in particular so special to many of the pros who used it beyond that: modularity and an even larger sensor. To everyone else, though, none of this really mattered. $9,000 was steep. 50 megapixels was either overkill or late and not enough compared to something like the 42.5 megapixels in Sony's A7R2 announced a year earlier. And both the operational speed of the X1D, that is startup time, and autofocus performance were, to be generous, laggardly. As for heritage, you could pick up a brand new Leica M9 for less, even if it was only 18 megapixels and it did have sensor problems. It was handled. And if you employed zone focus, the manual focus only M9 could be much faster to shoot. Resolution? You could pick up that Sony A7R2 for a lot less, and its autofocus was much faster, which does give you an idea of how slow the X1D was. But the big problem was that only a few months after the X1D actually started shipping that September, Fujifilm announced, I think it was in January, their digital medium format GFX 50S for $2,500 less. And it not only had an articulating rear screen, but an optional tiltable EVF, which I loved and miss on the GFX 100S. The bigger problem is what has happened since with smaller sensored cameras. The full-frame mirrorless interchangeable lens camera space has become a bloody froth of innovation and catch-up. The current Sony A7R4A is 60 megapixels, and I suspect 80 or even 100 megapixel full-frame cameras cannot be that far off. Nikon, Leica, Canon all have high-resolution cameras. Fujifilm has released ever more performant and more keenly priced medium format mirrorless ILCs. The latest GFX 50S2 may be only 50 megapixels, for example, but in all other ways it is simply a slightly decontented $4,000 GFX 100S. As I mentioned earlier, Fujifilm has also announced the $2,000 40 megapixel APS-C XH2, which looks fascinating and which can do 160 megabyte pixel shifted capture. It is not unreasonable, by the way, to assume that this resolution will appear in other APS-C cameras as well. Of course, the biggest issue of all is that almost no one needs 100 megapixels worth of resolution, not even the greatest portrait photographers of all time, because, hey, no one really wants to see what models and celebrities look like up close. Most of all, the models and celebrities themselves. And computational imaging on $1,000 smartphones continues to evolve at a staggering rate and operates much more seamlessly with social media, where I imagine something like 99% of all photographs are now actually consumed. Although, yeah, I've always been a statistical outlier. So I am really interested in going hands-on with an X2D. This video is brought to you by Squarespace. from custom domains to beautiful websites using their easily customizable templates that you can have up and running in minutes, e-commerce, email and email marketing, SEO, analytics, and scheduling, Squarespace does it all and has done it for us for the last 6 years. If you are a small to mid-sized business in any industry, Squarespace is the place to go for all of your website needs. Hop over to www.squarespace.com/Hugh for a free trial. And if you like what you see and want to move forward, receive 10% off your first order by using the discount code Hugh at checkout. Thanks, Squarespace.